This is a little more than an hour.
Your Honorable the President of Israel, Mr. Shimon Peres, the Honorable Fifth President of Israel, Yitzhak Navon, the widow of the Sixth President, Ora Herzog, my friend, the Speaker of the Knesset, Reuven Rivlin, the State Controller, Judge Michael Lindenstraut, former State Controller Miriam Ben-Porat, former Speakers of the Knesset, Dan Tichon and Shevach Weiss, my friends, the ministers in the government, the head of the opposition, Ms. Tzipi Livni, my friends, the Knesset members, the previous Knesset members, the heads of the diplomatic corps, the heads of the religious sections in Israel, honorable guests, and the citizens of Israel. The right for a Jewish state and the right for self-defense, these are two of the basic rights of our nations. These two rights are interwoven one with the other. Without a state of our own, we will not be able to defend ourselves. And without the ability to defend ourselves, we will not be able to have a state. These basic rights of the people of Israel are under continuous attack that has increased as a result of the Second Lebanon War and the war in Gaza. Our first objective is to stave off this attack. On the 12th of January, 2009, while the war in Gaza took place, the General Assembly of the UN decided to appoint a committee to investigate violations of international law on behalf of the Israeli forces against the Palestinians. I want you to listen. The Israelis occupying forces, this is after we evacuated every inch of Gaza. This distorted report, that this distorted committee wrote, puts into question the right of Israel for self-defense. This report encourages terror and endangers peace. And I would like to clarify here, Israel will not take any risks for peace if it will not be able to defend itself. The leaders of Israel are presented in this report, the soldiers of the IDF, as criminals, war criminals. But the truth is exactly the opposite. The leaders of Israel and its armed forces and those who went to defend Israel against war criminals. The Hamas declared openly their desire to destroy us, and the destruction of another nation is the first crime of war. They also send a lot of missiles against us. It's a second war crime, and they tried to defend themselves behind innocent people, and they are holding Gilad Shalit without allowing people able to visit him. Compared to it, and I'm quoting, the IDF acted to guard the citizens in the area of the battle more than any other army in the history. These are not my words. These are the words of the one who was the head of the British forces in Afghanistan, and any objective observer knows this truth. And I would like to clarify. We do not claim that the laws of the war do not apply to us. To the contrary. To the contrary. Knesset member Tzakaka, we heard you. Knesset member Nissim, you don't have to help me. Knesset member Khalka. This is the last time I'm going to make any comment. We do not claim that the laws of the war do not apply to us. To the contrary. Not only do the IDF comply with it, IDF complies with it more than any other army in the world. And therefore, when they come to put onto trial the leaders of Israel and the soldiers of the IDF that fought for a righteous war with righteous means against war criminals, there is the total opposite of the justice and the truth. We will not agree to a situation in which Ehud Olmert, Ehud Barak, or Tzipi Livni, who sent the soldiers of Israel to defend us, will be invited to The Hague. We will not agree to a situation in which the soldiers of the IDF will be recognized as war criminals after they defended the soldiers of Israel against our enemies. The government of Israel, the Knesset of Israel, and the nation of Israel rejected out of hand this absurdity. In this matter, there is a widespread consensus among all the parties. The Zionist parties and all the decent people who see reality as it is. There is an agreement here because we're not talking here only about the facts. We're talking about that something that of no importance, but our right to defend ourselves, which relates to the roots of our existence and our long journey in our history. The first turnaround and the terrible turnaround in the life of the Jewish people was turning it from a proud people in ancient times to a nation without a land during the diaspora. In ancient times, our nation was known to be able to want to fight for its existence. Under brave leaders like Shaul and David, Judea the Maccabee, Bar Kokhba, and when these conflicts did not, they always were respected, the Jewish people, as a people who are determined to defend its liberty. But with the loss of our independence, thank you, Knesset member Asana. You said what you said, it's enough. But with the loss of our nation, of our country and our independence, our resistance decreased. In the 2,000 years of our life in the diaspora, we had nowhere to shield us, which was at the benevolence of others, and the result was known. we went from one tragedy to another until the endangerment of our existence. From here, Knesset members, the second turnaround that happened in the state of the Jewish people was the establishment of the State of Israel. In the process that preceded its existence, and in the process of securing its security, the Jews uncovered self-defense from the Shomer movement to the Haganah to the Etzel, and until the establishment of the IDF, the Jewish nation discovered its ability to defend itself. And therefore, I declare here, we will never return to a situation in which we will not be able to defend ourselves and our nation. In the last months, I indicated the refusal of the Palestinians to recognize the Jewish nation as the source of our conflict. For 62 years, the Palestinians have been saying no to a Jewish state. I'm calling them again, say yes to a Jewish state. Make peace with the national state of the Jewish people that promised a national home for the Jewish people and full rights to all of its non-Jewish citizens. I know that this recognition is not much for the Palestinian leadership. And I know that it is a step that needs courage. I'm calling the Palestinian Authority to say to their nation the truth. Without recognition of Israel as a Jewish state, we will not be able to achieve peace. This is also the hour of the Arab leaders in the region to say to their people the truth, that the Jewish nation is not an enemy of the Islam, but a country that seeks peace with which you can make peace. But, my friends, if the road to peace with the Palestinians would have been easy, we would have obtained this peace a long time ago. It would have been obtained by many prime ministers of Israel since the peace process that started. Many concessions were offered by Israeli leaders and which were rejected time after time by the Palestinian leadership. Only a year ago, leaders of the previous government made concessions to the Palestinians, far-reaching concessions. They had many talks. They established many teams, but nothing came out of it. Why? Because the Palestinian leadership was not willing to declare the end of the conflict and the end of the demands, and to recognize once and for all in the Jewish state unequivocal recognition, a real, true recognition. It is essential for the peace. We want peace. We expect that the Palestinian Authority will be a true partner for peace. We are willing to work hard for peace. Knesset member Talab Sana, when you will talk, you decide what to say. I must tell you, Mr. Speaker, in the UN, they received the Prime Minister of Israel with a lot of courtesy in comparison what is happening among the members of the opposition in the Israeli Knesset. Now, please allow the Prime Minister, as stated in the law, to present his speech. Have you heard me? Truly, you have added, Mr. Speaker, that this is a real democracy. It is not always true in the UN. In the first 6 months of the government that I'm heading, we have made a consensus around the principles of the peace as I expressed in my speech in the University of Bar-Ilan. The solving of the Palestinian refugee outside of the borders of Israel, this demilitarization of the Palestinian area. At the same time, we acted in Judea and Samaria to increase the welfare of our Palestinian friends, as it wasn't done for many years. We removed blockades, we removed many blockades, and we made it much easier for commerce and movement in the Allenby Bridge. And we also removed many bureaucratic obstacles. We are not only talking, we are also doing. And we made a great contribution to the growth of the Palestinian economy. I believe that in time, the prosperity can strengthen the peace, because it will strengthen the moderate forces and will weaken the extremists. But again, I'm telling it honestly, there is no alternative and no substitute for the courage of the Palestinian leaders who are required to recognize the Jewish state. This will move the Israeli public that wants peace and desires peace. There is no alternative to this courage. This is the key to the peace. And I said that I do not put any prior conditions to the Palestinians, and we're acting that our efforts with the President Obama will bring about the renewal as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that many Israelis stopped believing in the peace. They saw that 16 years of talks with the Palestinians did not bring about the peace. And they saw that the alternative, that the unilateral withdrawal also didn't bring peace. And contrary to the promises, the unilateral retreat brought a lot of missile firings and didn't bring about an increase in the international support, but a decrease in the international support. They promised us that the vision will bring us the peace, but in actuality they brought us a war. And still I'm telling our colleagues, we should not lose hope. We are striving for peace realistically, and it is related to reality. We are trying to advance the prosperity of our neighbors. We are united through the unity of our nation, and a unified nation can bring about peace. And we're finally handling the root of the conflict, between us and the Palestinians, and this is how we will obtain the peace. But until it will be obtained, we should not delay the development of the state of Israel. We have to strengthen the economy, increase our education level, and to decrease the gaps between the periphery of the nation and the center of the nation. And we're acting to solve these problems since the establishment of my government. The steps we've taken in the economy. We are safeguarding the budget and its framework. As a result of it, there is a possibility, I'm saying there is a responsibility, I'm very careful, there is the possibility that Israel will come out of the global economic crisis, will come out of it faster than many of the developed countries of the world. Israel is considered a developed country officially. But for us to have the needed resources to respond to these great needs of Israel in the coming decade, the needs of security that will be increased, and the needs of education and the higher education, all of these needs will be increased, and rightfully. In order for us to have the resources, there's only one source, and this source is growth, economic growth. And in order to bring economic growth, we must release all the blockades for competition. We all know those blockades in the economy. For many years, Israel was stuck in many jams. A bureaucratic jam, jam in the transportation. When we had very old roads, we are acting very hard to release all of these jams. This struggle is to release many of the public lands, to build new trains and new roads, and a revolution in the committees of building permits. In the last session, we passed a new law about releasing lands of Israel. The rate of lands that will remain in the hands of the public after we implement this reform will be almost 90%. So there is no fear that the national lands will be lost. On the other hand, releasing the land for construction will make it less expensive to build and will make apartments less expensive. And in addition, every family in Israel will finally be able, not everybody, but many families in Israel will be able to move from a state of renting to a state of owning the property and owning the most important asset, the apartment or the house. And in doing so, will be finally released from the choking bureaucracy of the State of Israel. Secondly, we are in this session about to present a law proposal to simplify all the procedures of building and planning. In order to get a building permit today, the citizens of Israel have to go through hell. Many committees, many approvals, many important people have to be involved. All the corruption is triumphing, and whereas young couples are struggling under the high prices of housing. Entrepreneurs are complaining about their inability to build in Israel. We will bring an end to all of this. In our proposal, we will simplify all the building authorizations, and we will be very transparent. For example, all the hearings of the building committees will be transmitted through the internet. And therefore the public will be able to see by itself that it will not be a reform just for the few, for the connected. This will be a reform for the benefit of all the citizens of Israel. Thirdly, transportation. Tomorrow I'm going to visit the Galilee, among others, in order to pave new roads that will connect the north with the center of the country. The Yokneam interchange will be the fork of the north. We will build a new road north to Naharia and northeast until the Kiryat Shmona. At the same time, we will approve in the government in the coming months a national program for the Negev and the Galilee. This is the true route to make the periphery closer to the center, and I'm adding here, and to make the center closer to the periphery, because the movement of Israelis from the center to the north or to the south is important from a social standpoint, from an economic standpoint, and also from a security standpoint. And in the area of education, the government is acting to give our students the tools, including recruitment of hundreds of high-tech people to teach science and engineering. And not less important than that, we will provide the children of Israel the eternal values of the nation of Israel. We will teach our children Bible, Jewish history, the history of Zionism, Hebrew literature, Hebrew poetry, and Hebrew. It's about time. Knesset member Nissim Zev, don't, please don't.
אלה קריאות ביניים שאינן מפריעות. תודה. רבותיי, רק. ממשלתנו תוביל מלחמה בפשיעה.
Our government will lead a fight against violence and criminality. And we are going to bring in this session a new legislation to make crime more severe, laws against crimes. We'll also fight alcoholism and prevent its sale to young children and youth. Mr. Speaker, Knesset members, these are the main missions of our government in this session of the Knesset. But the first priority is our security and handling Israel and the threat of Iran to armor itself in nuclear weapons. In the last month, the real face of the tyrannic Iranian government, a government that threatens its neighbors, activates terror, and calls for the destruction of Israel and building installations for building. The President Obama repeated its commitment to prevent Iran from obtaining these weapons. Obama told me in New York again that Iran armored in nuclear weapons is a danger not only for Israel, but also for the United States and the entire world. All the responsible nations in the international community have to stand together and to clarify to the Iranian government that they will not agree for it to develop weapons of mass destruction. Knesset members, today was the opening of the winter session of the government of Israel. I wish to wish you and the whole nation, if there is one thing that allows us to contend with the challenges that I noted is the recognition that the State of Israel is the only home of our nation, of the Jewish nation. Only in Israel, the Jewish nation can live as a free country, as a free nation can secure its future. The Jews have no other nation, and we do not wish to have another nation. But we want the Jewish state, the Jewish state of Israel, a democratic state that lives in peace with its neighbors. With the help of God, we will act to bring to Israel security, prosperity, and peace. And with God's help, it will be forever so. Happy New Year to all of you. I would like to thank Mr. Netanyahu, and I'm inviting the head of the opposition, Knesset member Tzipi Livni.
מכובדיי,
Honored guests,
כבוד נשיא מדינת ישראל,
and the Honorable President of Israel,
יושב ראש הכנסת,
the Speaker of the Knesset,
מבקר המדינה,
the State Controller,
אישי המדינה בעבר, שבאו לכבד את פתיחת מושב
former
הכנסת,
presidents of Israel,
ראש ממשלת ישראל,
and the Prime Minister of Israel,
חברי חברי הכנסת.
and dear Knesset members.
אנחנו נמצאים היום בפתח מושב
We are
החורף של
here at the
הכנסת,
opening of the winter session of the Knesset,
ומבקשים לעצב לעצמנו
and we would
את
like
העתיד.
to shape our
נשיא
future.
מדינת ישראל דיבר כאן
The President
על
of
חזון
Israel
של
talked
שותפים.
about the
אנחנו
vision
שותפים.
that we are partner to.
אני רוצה כמובן לברך
I would like to
קודם כל ברכות לראש ממשלת ישראל
greet the Prime Minister of Israel for his
על אותה
historical survey,
שעבר לעם,
for the same
הרבה געגוע.
leadership that the nation
בסוף
had,
הדיון הזה,
that in the end of this
שלך.
discussion, this is your government.
ברכות נוספות מגיעות לראש ממשלת
Additional greetings
6 חודשים עברו מאז הקמת
to the
הממשלה.
Prime Minister of Israel. 6 months have
ביעד העיקרי
passed
שלה.
since you started. You were able to survive. This is the main achievement of the government of Israel, survival. The second achievement, and this is how you see it, the Prime Minister, that you succeeded in doing nothing. It is true that for it to happen, so that you can be a Prime Minister without doing nothing, you paid a big price. That is, the public paid. Israel has become a nation that lost a lot of support in the international community, but who is counting? But we are intending to count the failures of the government, and as I will repeat and say, you will have our support if you will do the right thing. And we will continue to offer alternatives so that the public will know that life could be here different, that we can still do it differently. I'm willing to count your success, that you were able to pass a budget for 2 years. You succeeded to triumph over the President of the United States. This is how you said after the meeting. You were able to humiliate the partner of Israel. You triumphed over America, you humiliated the Palestinians, and you isolated us. In Israel of today, when the Prime Minister thinks that he's triumphing, everybody else is losing. Do you think the public accepts it? It's true that there's no revolts in the streets, but this is not out of satisfaction. This is because of indifference, and this is increasing every day. Everybody who's sitting here and whoever is observing, yes, everybody talks about the indifference and the despair. It is true that the biggest enemy of the despair, because this despair is your formula for survival, but we deserve a better hope than what you are willing to offer. And a government needs a vision. I listened to your speech, not only today, but also in the eve of the new year, when you spoke to your party in honor of the new year. I also gave a speech the same evening, and I believe that in the eve of the new year, we have to talk about the vision of hope, about unity around values, but you think otherwise, because your vision for the nation of Israel, that we will not come out losers. The Zionism, I know that you checked and found out that we do not found the nation of Israel not to be a loser. The Shas party did not lose out. The Likud party did not lose out. The Lieberman did not lose out. Barak did not lose out, even though his party lost out. None of you lost out, but the nation of Israel is paying for it. Sir, you can leave the session if you don't like it. Don't help me. The problem, and this is the serious part of it, that from the experience of not willing to be a loser, Israel is paying a high price for it. It's not very complicated. Before you were elected, Israel conducted negotiations with the Palestinians. The world blessed us for it, and we guarded all of our interests, and the whole world supported it. We built very little, and if we built, it was for the need, and if we needed, we hit the Hamas. And after the Gaza campaign, the world supported us, and we obtained peace that we are all enjoying now. And today, Mr. Prime Minister, if we will raise your head and you'll see what happened, Israel is ostracized every day. The settlements blocks in Israel are in dispute. There is no negotiations. And you who talked about peace is standing today and asking to start, and that someone will enter negotiations with you. And you asked why we didn't reach agreements, and you responded unrealistically. And if we will the negotiations didn't reach the end, it was stopped, and we can now, and it is desirable and necessary now to enter the negotiations room and to continue it. I hope that the Prime Minister, that is what you will do. I don't think that Israel is responsible for everything, but your solution, that the whole world is against us, and besides it, everything is okay, is the easy solution that touches the anxiety and the fear, but has no solution. You said that Israelis don't believe that peace is possible because they don't believe in it, because your ministers explain that Israel tried and haven't succeeded. You are sending all your ministers to talk around the world that we tried and didn't succeed, and there's no need for it. Mr. Prime Minister, the responsibility is on your shoulders, on the shoulders of the government of Israel. Kadima, as a responsible party, doesn't want to enjoy your failures because Israel is paying a heavy price. Therefore, I would like to give you some advice today. This is what Kadima and I would have done today, and I hope that you implement it. In the political arena, go to the nation of Israel and tell them this is the time of decision. The difference between a Jewish state and a state of all of its citizens, the nature of a Jewish state will come only through negotiations. Otherwise, we'll have one nation between the sea to the Jordan. It will be a nation that will not be Jewish without a Jewish character, whereas your government is trying to waste time and to escape in fear from any decision making. Israel is doing nothing. The vision of an Israeli Palestinian is becoming a reality. A Palestinian state that is not side by side to Israel, but will be from the sea to the Jordan, but it will become an entity through the right of election. Kadima has selected a Jewish state among all those other options. The price for any alternative is much higher. You did not decide yet, and therefore you're complicating things for everybody. It is not true that if you will decide, people will attack you. Among those who want to settle Jews in every place, even at the price of the Jewish character of the state of Israel. These people believe that if we'll do nothing, God will help. But Zionism never put our fate in the hands of God alone. Go to the U.S., meet with President Obama, and please stop the power play with President Obama. You will not triumph over him, and God forbid for Israel if you should. And say yes and recruit him to the topics that are necessary. Bring him to the place to all the presidents of the United States were in the past, and we can come to the same agreement with the present administration. 2 nations for 2 people. The solution of the refugees and the end of the conflict. But for Obama to accept it, he, like us, will have to know that you are serious, that you are intending to implement what you're saying. Words are not enough. And for this, you will need to do what you haven't done so far. You will have to decide. And this is more important advice. Don't run to tell the friends. Ariel Sharon said, the ability to be restrained and to get responses not in time. When you've acted first with Senator Mitchell, it seemed that you were acting wisely, but then you ran to your colleagues and all the limelight was turned to Israel. And you brought the disputes also to the podium. The Goldstone report would have been better. It wouldn't have come to the war out. I will fight together whoever will bring about slander against the IDF. I supported the campaign in Gaza. I'm willing to go on trial in any form that discusses it. We will fight together for any comparison between an IDF soldier and a terrorist. It is not a correct comparison, and it is a distorted comparison. Vis-a-vis the terror, we have to act in force, and we did so. Israel spoke in one voice. The Americans pressed, but you had to tell your colleagues, and you had to again humiliate the Palestinians, and that is why the report is back on the table. You are dying, you are still in the field that we do not have a partner, and you have not moved to the next step that we of negotiations.
תרים את הראש ותראה
Raise your head and see what is happening to the society in Israel. We became a violent society. We had violence beforehand. It's not because of you or your government. But for God's sake, what are you doing about it? I would not like say what Lieberman would have said, how we should act against violence. You are reducing the budget, but we have no security. You have to establish a cabinet for the matters of violence. Stop being quiet when there is violence by the ultra-Orthodox in Jerusalem.
את רוצה לנאום אולי? בבקשה.
ותלווה פעם אחת את המילים במעשים.
And accompany your words with deeds. A country that fights terror in such an effective way can win over the internal terror, give the police the tools to fight violence, and pass the law to make punishments more severe. An essential part to accompany all of it with education. Raise your head, Prime Minister, and think about the society in Israel. The public will not be able to withstand the decrees that you put forth, all the taxes that you imposed, and all the reductions that you made. I'm calling you to order for the second time. I'm repeating, stop the cuts in the social ministries in order to finance your survival. Please cancel all of these cuts in the authorities that do not have the money. The source of the budget, they come every day. All the portfolio, ministers without portfolio. It's worthwhile to be a minister in your government for 2 hours a week. There is a budget of $1 million.
כבוד השרה, שרים לא תודה רבה. שמעתי. אני לא יכול לקרוא לשר לסדר, פשוט אני לא בנוי. אני לא בנוי לקרוא לשר לסדר. תודה רבה, אני מאוד מודה לך.
והדבר האחרון...
And the last thing...
אני מסתדר, חבר הכנסת.
והדבר האחרון...
And the last thing...
שצריך את עזרתך יבקש.
And the last thing, and I would ask you to do and to change in this session, to change the system of government in Israel. This time, I'm not asking you to change your position. You were the one who acted everybody to move to a personal selection. At the time, you thought that it will serve you, and now you know that without your bloc of parties, you do not have a chance to be elected. Whatever is good for one person at one time changes at another time. Let's all think together about the government. I changed my mind. I thought that representation is very important until I realized that the minority overcomes the majority. Imagine what would have happened if you would have been elected directly by the nation. You wouldn't have had to play all the block plays, and you could have even lead your vision. We don't even know what your vision is. I would have even been able to join you in advancing certain issues, but you selected to pay all what you wanted. You've sold everything to your party and every other party. By winking with other religious parties, you sold whatever used to be the Likud. In another system, we could have had many other useful laws, and the change of the government system you sold to your partners, unless you prove otherwise. You improved. Knesset member Regev. In the last election, you improved what the public hates in politics. I found today all the way you found how to finance the promises you made to Rafi Eitan. You are making people, politics hateful to the people, and in your cynical way, you're losing the trust of the public in its leadership. You're responsible for your conduct, and your conduct is bad no matter what the system is, but this system has to be changed no matter what. These are the advice I can give. This is what Kadima would have done, but I know you. Knesset member Miri Regev.
חבר הכנסת אקוניס, אני קורא לך לסדר פעם שנייה. אמרת משרד פרסום של מדינה. יש כאן מחלת הסבירות. כבוד השר, אני ראיתי אותך כחבר כנסת מצטיין, אתה משתוקק. ראש הממשלה לא מוותר לך עליך משולחן הממשלה. נא להתנהג כמו שר. גברתי, בבקשה. בבקשה.
I'm repeating and saying that regretfully, I'm repeating and saying that what we have said here about the political, this is not what will happen. We're hearing today calling for negotiations. It would have, you that tried to say that we can do it without negotiations, that you can explain that we can throw to the Palestinians a few bones. You are begging now to start in negotiations. I assume, I hope that you are not trying to form a dialogue for the sake of dialogue and a photo opportunity with other leaders, and to say one thing to one person and another thing to another. I hope that you have the desire, that you don't have the desire to start negotiations just to prove that we do not have a partner. The Palestinians also justify reasons to do it, but this is the most irresponsible to do it. It is bad for Israel. These are the things that you said. You succeeded in getting Israel to be ostracized, and now everybody is examining you according to your acts and not your words. Instead of initiating,
עכשיו את רוצה להוכיח שאני טועה. חבר הכנסת חסון, אני רואה שהתחלת לנהל את העניינים. אתה עוד צעיר, עוד תגיע לנהל את העניינים, אבל לאט לאט.
instead of initiating, as every sovereign country does it, you're trying to sell more words. Until you met with the leaders in the U.S., you put the blocks of settlements to a dispute. The Prime Minister will be required to conduct the negotiations on everything that you swore not to talk about, discuss. Maybe he doesn't think so today, but he will understand it in the difficult way for Israel. After you triumphed over Obama, that the negotiations will be about everything. You will tell the world, yes, the Jerusalem, that it will be part of the negotiations, and you will hint to your partners that we will, otherwise, I assume that you will say to yourself that they used Jerusalem as a cynical excuse, and while under the table you paid to them. And you believe that they will agree to what you do in order to stay in the government. Outside, you will say, I'm saying the right things. And to my partners, you will say, our main objective is to survive. And let's remember not the distant history that you led us to, but the last history. You said that you don't have to conduct political negotiations, that you will not support a Palestinian state. And you probably remember what you said in the last campaign. And slowly you'll say the Prime Minister talking about the blocks instead of talking about the settlements. And he will not talk about Jerusalem, but the holy places. Listen and you will hear the things. The Prime Minister will be pulled, and instead of leading, he will be led, and the price the State of Israel will pay. Continue, Prime Minister, to talk about a Jewish state. It's a worthy topic, but the central topic is, because this is the objective of the State of Israel, but you will continue to talk about a Jewish state, and actively you lose it, and you will get the opposite. Instead of deciding about two nations in order to gain time, you will get the opposite result. And even here, you need to decide what is a Jewish state, and a Jewish state is in the wide extended meaning, and not the price you're paying for your ultra-Orthodox partners in order to survive. It's not enough to talk about a Jewish state. You have to know about how you guard a Jewish state. And what is happening?
חברת הכנסת מירי רגב, עוד מילה אחת ואת בחוץ לצערי הרב. אבל אני מציע לך בעצמך. חבר הכנסת איוב קרא, אתה רוצה לשאול שאילתה את יושבת ראש האופוזיציה? אין פרוצדורה כזאת, חבר הכנסת איוב קרא, פעם אחרונה שאני מעיר...
Knesset member Okara, it's the last time I'm commenting. The day the government was established, I said to the podium that what will happen, and this is what is happening, regretfully. Please remove Knesset member Regev. Please remove Knesset member Regev. Please remove Knesset member Vaknunin. Please remove Knesset member Vaknunin. It happened, and it's happening what I said on this over this podium, that the Prime Minister will try to avoid a decision, and he will be pulled to a decision in order to be okay with everybody. A leader cannot be okay with everybody. A politician can be, but not a leader. And Israel will pay all the prices. And you will be afraid to decide. There will be somebody who will say, somebody to Kadima. It's true. It's important that the public will understand that what you're trying to sell has no validity, and the public will understand that what we have proposed is the only solution. And I'm committing again above this podium that Kadima will support if you will do something for real. The problem is, Mr. Prime Minister, when you will be pulled, the problem is we will all pay the price, and then you will reach the decision time, and then you will be afraid to decide, and this will be the worst for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, as everybody sees how this government is enjoying itself and the public is paying and suffering, everybody is indifferent and will pay all these taxes, and every Zionist citizen will finance education because his taxes goes to the ultra-Orthodox education. And the settlements they don't have will have even less in welfare and prosperity, and will pay for all the reductions that you're decreeing in order to finance you and your government. And the solution will not be in calling some mayors as it was done in the past, and the solution will not be to sell words. A government needs vision, and if we ask every member of the government what was a vision, everybody will say something else, because to everybody you sell something else. Nobody will know what is your vision or your path. You truly believe, Mr. Prime Minister, you truly believe, Mr. Prime Minister, that every time you wave with Iran as a threat, a real threat on the one hand, and then the Holocaust, a real pain on the other hand, and will continue and talking about the threats and how Israel is fighting and the days that Israel had to fight. Do you truly believe that with all of this, only on this basis, out of this same fear, you'll be able to continue to gain support? One thing off, sure, you will not be able to secure the future of Israel as a Jewish state. The state of Israel deserves better. Survival, political survival is not enough. And the state of Israel needs a leader and a government that has a vision. It seems that there is a government, it talks like a government, but regretfully, there is not a government in Jerusalem. There is the version that we will not be loser and we will not be. Kadima, headed by me, will be happy to do something that we will agree with and to support it, and is willing to hold a dispute with you. But please do it. I said once that whoever reaches the Prime Minister office in order just to sit there, please do something. You're already 6 months there. Please do something. Ladies and gentlemen,